Hey guys, Cosney Calderon bringing you another League of Legends related video. This video is going to be about marksmen this season. So this season I think that the top three marksmen are MF, Lucian, and Corki, and I'm going to get in depth about what I think of each of these champions individually, along with a few honorable mentions that I'll toss in here at the end. So, to get it all started, I'm going to talk about this trifecta of champions that have been taking over the bot lane solo queue slash dynamic queue, whatever you want to call it. So, right now, the number one of these three is easily going to be MF. A lot of people would argue with me why I would rank this as number one. The other two have so much more potential for outplay and such, but while they have more potential for outplay, they also require a lot more skill than she does. And due to this, I give MF the number one. Her output of damage is consistent and ridiculously high for an ADC, and against ADCs, she is a nuke. While she's not as mobile as most ADCs, she does get a speed up buff while she's not being attacked, which means she can chase down other ADCs as long as they don't know how to kite, or at least if they throw auto abilities and they miss, as long as they're not autoing. She also pairs up with almost every laning partner, so you can go with a squishy partner. That's kind of like a peel. You can go with an AP burst partner like Brand. You can go with a tank like Braum or Leona. Like, she fits into any situation in the bot lane because of her sheer outrageous damage. You need one item, and that's a BF sword, and you'll already start winning the lane. She also requires a lot less skill than the other two, which allows even noob players to play her with a moderate amount of success. She has her butt for more experienced players, so once you get into like diamond area, it's going to be hard for you to carry as well with her. While she still has that great damage and she's still a good champion, it's harder to outplay against people your own rank, because they're going to have that outplay potential on you. So she is very strong still, but she's not getting picked as high up as, Corki and Lucian are in the higher you go. So I'm going to segue over to Corki now. So Corki is easily one of the better of the three, and in my own personal ranking, just because across dynamic queue regions, so like, from Challenger, Master Tier, Diamond, Plat, Gold, Silver, and Bronze, MF is probably the top, because even in those lower elos, people can play her with a good amount of success. Followed directly by Corki. He's not as mechanical as Lucian until you get, your payload, and you just gotta know how to use it correctly. He's very, very strong right now. His build path is very versatile. You can change in numerous directions depending on how the game's going, and it still allows you to carry the game pretty well. And he scales nicely in the mid game, and doesn't fall off as hard as he used to in the late game. So he's just looking overall like a very strong champion right now. His laning dominance is only hindered by whatever support you pair up with. He's very good with all supports, but at different times in the game. So in laning phase, what you want for, that optimal aggressive lane phase is going to be more of a Thresh Braum Leona, but you can still pair up with a Janna Nami for later peel in team fights, so that you optimize better in those team fights with those peelier champions. Because if they have somebody like a Nocturne or a Fiora, or I don't know, a Diana, or somebody that can just jump to the backline straight to you, having those peel is a lot better than having those engaged tanks. Braum kind of fits that peel style with him, so I think right now one of the stronger lanes is going to be Braum Corki, or at least for Corki's sake. He does pair well with a lot of other champions. Blitzcrank is really nice for him because you can peel, you can engage in different ways. He also has essentially 2 Ws now every 6 minutes or 5 minutes, or however long that the payload comes around. So the payload is this extraordinarily long Corki Valkyrie that does damage pretty much like a Rumble Equalizer. It lasts about the same, it does a slow, and its initial hit knocks them to a specific side. So angling it correctly can pin in the opposing ADC to where they have to run across it, taking tons of damage and being slow. So they either have to burn their flash, burn their heal, or if they have a dash, they have to burn it, and they have to try to get away from you before they can start fighting you again, because you just set up the terrain to your favor, as long as it's a 1v1 situation. Now, the payload is a tricky thing when it comes to actual team fights. You have to wait you have 60 seconds to wait and hope that somebody mispositions, and so you can line up that payload and then zoom back across back to your team with your normal W. It does not count as a W, so once you use the payload, you have your Valkyrie ready to get you out of there or get you deeper in, depending on how your situation's going. I believe this new passive, and the fact that his passive is now magic damage, I'm a little sad that it's no longer true damage auto attacks, but the magic damage allows for you to sneak in a little extra damage in there. You can get those Sork shoes and build up a little bit more AP. If you really want, you could get a Void Staff, which I've seen a couple of people actually do nowadays, and it allows you to just obliterate them with damage that they're not expecting, because now you're doing magic and they've optimized for an ADC. You're doing half AD, which with your, Last Whisper, you can punch through a bit of their armor. And then with your Sork boots, you can then get through with that magic damage. Overall, Corki is a very versatile and very well-rounded and good champion right now. Now, you also have Lucian. Lucian is easily the most mechanical of the three, so that's why he's number 3 on my list here. While he's still really good across all divisions right now, and he's easily one of the best, there's no doubt he's one of the best 3, I think his requirement for skill is a little bit higher than the other 2, which puts him down a bit. His damage is easily one of the better and more consistent. Even that of MF is not as consistent as Lucian, as long as you know what you're doing with him. She requires positioning, but he requires mechanics and positioning more so than she does. His Q is also potentially an ability that you can miss a lot easier than an MFQ. Because MFQ, you can just lock onto your target and it hits them. It doesn't do as much damage as the second hit of it, but it still does damage consistently. Somebody with a flash, if they really need to, can flash the Lucian Q and dodge it. Along with the fact that a lot of his damage is really focused on that secondary, that passive right after all of his abilities. He gets 2 auto attacks really fast, and both of them can proc. The first one procs all on hit abilities. If you build him that way. A lot of people aren't. You're building him more to a crit cooldown build, so that you ease up a lot faster, so that when you dash in, you double hit, you W double hit, dash out, Q double hit, ulti, dash, ulti, finish up the ulti, double hit. I mean, you can easily, with the sheer amount of cooldown that you end up on him, you can just dash around all over the place, repositioning yourself and ensuring that you have a better team fight. His laning phase is also really strong because he offers so much damage early on and throughout the game. He falls off a little harder in the late game than the other 2 options, though. If you're not consistently winning team fights, the opposing team can make a comeback if your team is not pressuring the advantage you have in early to mid game with Lucian. So he's number 3 only for this reason, that he doesn't scale throughout the game. Now, honorable mentions. Tristana is easily one of the better ones up there still. She's still really good. She's not going to be one of the best, but she has a decent output of damage and allows for a good siege composition to be made. Now, if your team builds completely around her, Tristana can easily dominate and win the game for your team with the ability to jump in, get a kill, reset your W, jump back out. Somebody follows along with you, you can ulti them away and get yourself out safe. She offers herself enough peel and enough repositioning power that she's still a really strong, bursty ADC. Now, people like Jinx and a couple other champions that we used to see, so like let me think about it. So look, I'm going to move over here to the marksman page. I'm going to just go a little bit by a few of them here. So like Jinx specifically, though, has fallen off quite a bit due to the fact that she's just not, she didn't optimize well with the new changes. All the changes that happened, she's just kind of meh. She's trying to be really strong, but she has no way to optimize better than other champions who have versatility in their build paths that allow, and mobility, which just bring a lot more to the table than Jinx. You also have Varus is starting to pick up a little play. I can't say he's one of the best, but he's still a pretty good champion. Ezreal is starting to pick up. He's becoming one of those stronger ones, just kind of pokey comp. He takes a little while to get going, so if you fall behind in the early game, it's going to kind of tell the story of your whole game, which makes him a bit of a risky pick. Callista just recently got nerfed, so you're going to see a lot less play of her possibly in actual solo queue. As for competitive play, she might still see some play up there in the LCS. Sivir is really good because she allows to bring utility to your team, and she optimizes well with the new Fervor. I've been playing her quite a bit, and she offers quite a bit to the table now. She does a lot of damage and is becoming a lot more consistent with an auto attack buff from Fervor. So champions like her who don't have that, innate buff to their skills outside of, her W giving her a little bit of a faster ricochet, allowing her to bounce auto attacks through minions and champions and make her attack a little faster, and her ulti makes her move and attack faster. I mean, that used to bring a lot with that ulti for the utility, but she wasn't going to pick up much if there wasn't something there to allow her to do more damage. Now, Thunderlords worked really nice on her for a bit, but there was other champions that used it a little bit better than her, because her poke was a little inconsistent, and she cost a lot of mana to use a lot of her abilities. So you really had to land that spell shield to get back mana, specifically to poke, more so than to protect yourself from the engage. But now, with Fervor, she has that consistent early to mid game damage that she can now use to harass and win her way through lane. She's not exactly a lane bully, but with tactical positioning and placement, she's still probably one of the better ADCs. Now, ADCs to look out for that I think are going to get better in this patch specifically are going to be Twitch, and I think Quinn. Now, Quinn is a risky pick, always has and always will be. She relies very heavily on her Q to do the primary amount of her damage, and positioning herself she can do easily by E-ing an opponent, which slows them and repositions you. Her passive allows her to do an extra bit of burst to every auto attack after an ability, and every couple seconds Quinn will proc a person with the Valor passive, and she can double auto attack. Her ulti allows her to move around the map. All these skills optimize her better to become a jungler than being an actual ADC. So I'm kind of considering her more of a marksman in the jungle, and that's what you got to kind of look out for more, opposed to actually being an ADC. Twitch is similar to that. He's starting to pick up in the jungle a bit more in the higher elos, just because he's kind of got that assassin style right now, and he has such a high amount of burst early on that he can just gank a lane and come in, and he's essentially a better Shaco. Now, his positioning in ADC is very critical, but because of what they did to his Q recently, it offers him a bit more of a risky playstyle. You can Q in behind an opposing ADC. Say there's no supports in the lane. They both roam to go help mid. You're against an enemy Lucian. Lucian dashes forward because you're nowhere near him that he thinks, and he just starts clearing minions to start trying to fast push the wave. You Q in and get right behind him. You throw that E, you ulti, and you just take him out as he's trying to run past you to get back to base, trying to deal damage, whatever. You E and he dies. You now know that there's two people rotating down that are relatively close to coming to get you. You go into the bush and Q, because now, once you get a kill, your Q is off cooldown. It resets your Q like that. Every time you get a kill or assist, it resets your Q, which allows Twitch players to have a lot more chances of using this Q to engage rather than trying to save it for when you get attacked. You can still do it in that way, in which then it allows you to reposition and get yourself in a spot where you can kill the opposing team and reset your Q and reposition again. This allows him to become an up-and-coming champion that potentially could see some competitive and some solo queue play. I know I'll definitely be playing him in some solo queue just because I feel like he has enough in his kit now that he can actually stand against some of these other laners. I want to thank all of you guys for watching this video again. I enjoy making these videos, and I hope you guys enjoy watching them. And if you do, don't mind. I would love you guys to hit that like button or that subscribe button down below. If you have any questions or concerns or comments that you just want to leave, just talk in the comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I see them. And if you want to just, like always, look in my description, you'll find my Facebook, my Twitch, and my Twitter account. So you guys will get to, talk to me if you want to see something in new videos, or if you guys want to be in the podcast. Just let me know. I'm accepting anybody that has a nice voice and knows what they're talking about, or is at least willing to research what I want them to talk about. And I want to say thank you guys for watching, and everybody have a great day.